We will keep an eye on what others are reporting. Twitter, of course, follow along. It's a great fun on leadership spill nights, if it turns out to be. I think Kieran's point's interesting, though, that clearly those who are angry with Kevin Rudd, the main argument against him has been he's a one-man band. He doesn't consult. That's being pushed around, perhaps now to swing some of the people who might be making up their minds. Go with Gillard, you'll get more of a say, you'll get more involvement. But look, Peter, at the end of the day, the key decision for MPs tonight is who's going to win us the election. It's not who's going to hold our hand and be more consultative.
That's right. The problem for Kevin Rudd tonight is that what we are doing right now, you and me and Kieran and Ashley, this whole discussion is doing damage to the answer to that question being Kevin Rudd. And that's why I think often these situations develop a momentum of their own. And that would be the problem for Kevin Rudd. My wonder about if we've got a situation at the moment where Faulkner and Gillard and Rudd are all meeting in Rudd's office, what are they meeting about if it's not to try to convince him for some sort of amicable handover or to come out collectively and declare unity and declare some sort of change of approach, which might answer what Kieran was talking about.
Let's go through what will happen if they come out and do that. If Kevin Rudd, Julia Gillard, John Faulkner come out and say, look, we're united, we're sticking with the leader, it's all over. But he is wounded, isn't he?
Oh, absolutely. And I think it's all over on a couple of fronts. He's definitely wounded because of tonight and the ongoing reporting that will be of this particular saga. The fact that those that have been popping their heads up on reporting as wanting to remove him will continue to agitate to some extent in the hope that they might be able to get there eventually. But the issue becomes when everybody gets on those planes and flies out of Canberra tomorrow, that's when it's very hard for them to get caucus back together because, as one very senior Labor person put it to me, if that happens and they decide that they actually want to reconvene caucus and get rid of Rudd, Rudd will go to the Governor-General potentially and call an election before that couple of day process can happen. It's got to happen tomorrow.
Yeah, to avoid the critics coming together and rolling him. Now, if it does happen tomorrow, the process, the procedure is that there needs to be a special caucus meeting now because there isn't one scheduled tomorrow. That would mean Kevin Rudd would have to agree to a special caucus meeting, I assume, and then spill the leadership. Now, he would only do that if he figures that's going to help him stay in the leadership and show that he does have the numbers by actually proving on the count that he has the numbers. But look, for any of that to happen, there has to be a challenger. And at the moment, there ain't one.
Well, and what an extraordinary situation. Just let's break down what we've got here. We have got a first-term government and a Prime Minister who not that long ago was being talked about as the most popular Prime Minister in Australia's history, according to the opinion polls. We've got a Deputy Leader who is an anointed successor at some point in time as long as they're still in power. Yet, we're in a situation now where there is a massive push, it would seem, for a challenge without a challenger. It is an extraordinary set of positions for them to be in. And the Liberal Party, the opposition, must just be sitting there thinking, well, thank goodness we went through this late last year because we're now feeling quite good because no matter what happens from a Liberal perspective, this is a more damaged government tomorrow morning than it was this morning.
Kieran Gilbert, this is the problem, isn't it? It is incredibly close to an election. If there's a change of leader, a new leader could push things out to as late as April next year to go to the polls. But the expectation is an election has to be held this year. The Victorians are going to the polls on a set date, November 24. So we are getting very close now to an election. If there is to be a leadership change, there's not a whole lot of time for Julia Gillard or anyone else to establish themselves in that job.
The one point that I think needs to be made in that context, and this is, it's history, if it happened. I mean, she'd be the first female Prime Minister. She seems to be Teflon coated given recent months and the Building the Education Revolution program. Now, that has been mired in controversy, a few hundred projects which have been the subject of complaints, obviously thousands of projects involved, but generated a lot of bad publicity, but it's all slid off Julia Gillard. Now, the Labor Party, those behind this push, would be arguing that a Labor leader, the first female Prime Minister, would generate a lot of goodwill, would create a fresh look from the electorate when it comes to the government, and would give the first female Prime Minister in this country's history, if it does eventuate, a remarkable honeymoon. We saw Kevin Rudd enjoy a honeymoon that has fallen apart in the last couple of months. It's created enormous nervousness, Ashley, on the backbenches, as we've been reporting for weeks now. The question is, what happens with Gillard? We've had it confirmed tonight that she's been in the office with the Prime Minister, but you know, all the other senior ministers that we've spoken to in recent days, or a number of them, have just been batting this off, saying no, that there's nothing to it.
They've been downplaying this and blaming media speculation for stirring it up, saying that there's no grounds to all of the reports that we have been hearing over recent weeks. Julia Gillard herself has been the main one really downplaying this, even when we've seen polling results suggest that she is popular, that she would be able to take on Tony Abbott. Of course, that's a scenario we're quite used to. Julia Gillard faces off against Tony Abbott every Friday morning on a morning breakfast program, and they are old sparring partners from way back. The Liberal Party has been stirring up speculation. They've been saying that they are already preparing a campaign to run with in case Julia Gillard does take over the leadership before the next election. But as for Julia Gillard herself, she has just been laughing this off as if it's just such a ridiculous notion. I think we've got a bit of her doing exactly that just recently.
There's more chance of me becoming the full forward for the Dogs than there is of any change in the Labor Party.